We proceed with our sessions by kindly call Irene Mangumbal, publisher of the Cebu Daily News, to introduce the first segment of this forum.
Good afternoon, I'm your moderator for the next half hour. We have the opportunity to look ourselves in the mirror to see, to situate the topic of our theme will be accountability and public engagement in a broader context, in Philippine context specifically. We have an opportunity to see the beauty marks and the warts and all by looking in the mirror. In this next topic, discussing the Asian Media Barometer, I'd like to call our first speaker, Malu Mangangas, Executive Director of the PCIJ, Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism. We will have a panel of two. At the end of our talk, we will be hearing comments, reactions from first Mr. Arnold Villesa. He's Executive Editor of This Is Well. We call Arnold joining the couch. Our second panel actor is Sherry Ann Lim, who's the Managing Editor of Sunstar Cebu. After the talk and the comments, we will be receiving questions from the floor, but the rules are you may have to write down your question and we will be giving it to three of our trustees, our regional trustees, Attorney Jess Duresa of Mindanao, Mr. Wawi Reyes of the Visayas, and Ms. Elnora Cueto of Luzon. There are microphones there. You will have to pass your written questions to our floor facilitators so that we can use the time well. We have 30 minutes for this session. So I will now turn over the floor to Malu.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My roots are Gregory, so I'm very happy to be with you again. I'd like to introduce you to a new book that's been published by the Ppi Part6. Our friends from the FDS are here today, Anne Helena and Mr. Berthold Limbo, and he is the resident country representative of FDS. This is a book actually that will be distributed to the participants, but let me actually acknowledge the co-authors of the project, the members in the PPI. I have two with me right now up front, but also there are others who should be recognized. We have Mr. Danton Limoto of TV5, Research. We have Rowena C. Paraan of the National Union of Journalists of the Philippines. We have Jonas Soltes, actually regional correspondent at that time of the Philippine Daily Inquirer. We have, of course, Leslie Jean Cordero, Assistant Secretary for Legislative Affairs of the Office of Secretary Coloma, Miriam Grace Go of Newsbreak, Solomon F. Lumba, Assistant Professor of UP College of Law, Norcalia May Mabuhay Campong, Information Officer of Reform Arm Now, Professor Peter Angelo Perfecto, Executive Director of the Makati Business Club, and of course, last but not least, very good, important contributions from her, Ms. Melinda Quintos de Jesus, Executive Director of the Center for Media Freedom and Responsibility. So what is this report all about? This is the first time that the Philippines has been assessed in terms of core sectors of media development. So it is an in-depth and comprehensive description and measurement system for national media environments in Asia. It's a local self-assessment exercise based on criteria derived from international standards for media freedom. It is actually a roadmap or a practical lobbying tool for us to see ourselves and assess where the picture is pretty enough, not so pretty, and needs to be prettified. The barometer was actually designed and adopted for Asia from the African Media Barometer. It is a homegrown criteria derived from the African protocols and declarations, such as the Declaration of Principles and Freedom of Expression in Africa. The problem in Asia is we do not have an Asian protocol that becomes an excuse for our governments to restrict media freedom and deny our citizens the right of access to information. Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights comes close to the universal guarantee of freedom of expression, including the right to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas. The barometer in Asia actually has no framework as yet for the region, and this is where I think the Philippines, very good presence in many regional and Asian bodies like World Association of Newspapers, could probably take the lead. The only Asian document that has tried to suggest non-binding benchmarks on media freedom is the Bangkok Declaration on Information and Broadcasting of 2003. In this document, the Ministers of Information and Broadcasting of our countries in Asia, actually, as well as those in the Pacific region, agree that policymakers, decision makers, scholars, and representatives of international organizations signed on to the Freedom of Information and Broadcasting legislation. Now, before the Philippines, the Philip Iberskiptum has done a study for India, Pakistan, and Thailand, and I think Indonesia is on its way now. So every 2 years there will be a meeting of these 11 panelists. So what is the method? I'm trying to make us all appreciate the value of this document as something not just written from out of the blue, but actually from the best minds in the media community. So the project team actually was headed by an FES coordinator who's head of their media program, Mr. Rolf Ash, and Ms. Marina Kramer of FES as editor. Now, what did we do? We spent for 2 days, locked ourselves up in the Tagaytay, and discussed so many questions actually, 45 questions. 45 questions falling under 4 sectors. The best 4 possible would be a perfect 5 for the sectors. And the sectors are, number 1, freedom of expression, including freedom of the media, is effectively promoted and protected. I guess you will hazard a guess that probably we score on the high side here. Ano kaya? 5, 4, o 3 ang score natin. So, media freedom. Sector 2 looks at the media landscape, including new media, that ideally should be characterized by diversity, independence, and sustainability. Sector 3 looks at broadcasting regulation that should be transparent and independent, and the state broadcaster, in our case the state national television, is transformed into a truly public broadcaster. And finally, Sector 4 looks at the media practice and possibly gauging it in terms of what could be high levels, or should be high levels of professional standards. Perfect score of 5. I don't know if the people here have a guess. The Philippines overall scored maybe what? 3, 5, 1, 2, 4. Actually, scored overall 2.6. Parang pasang-awa po tayo. Medyo malungkot yung kwento. Sector 1, yung media freedom of expression, 3.7. Very high. Okay. Sector 2, yung media landscape, including new media, promoted and characterized by diversity, independence, and sustainability, 2.8. Still on the high side. Sector 3, broadcast regulation, 1.3. Because we have no public broadcasting system. And finally, Sector 4, the media practicing high levels of professional standards. Ano kaya ang score? 1? Gusto mo naman nun? 2.6. Lahat. Okay? So, these are the insights from the co-authors. And I hope we bring it home as something we could work on for better results maybe 2 years from now. Lalo na't mag-eleksyon sa 2013. Okay, sabi, the media landscape in the Philippines is characterized by diversity, freedom, and an active stock of journalists and citizens, and an executive and legislative slow on media reforms. Ibig sabihin, ang dami-dami natin, maraming mga journalists at gustong maging journalists. However, the flip side is, there is a lot of freedom but also a lot of fear. We are operating in a culture of impunity and in one of the most dangerous countries for journalists. It comes no surprise that even the free and rambunctious media of the Philippines reflect the constraints of fear and a growing concentration of ownership in the journalistic practice. Ano po yung numero? Kasi the PCIJ did some research para may background data. Okay, overall, total number, latest data, official records and private media tracking records, 580 newspapers nationwide, 49 magazines, 392 AM stations, 782 FM stations, 352 television stations, 988 cable stations, 304 internet service providers. It's a very crowded community for the same composite audience that remained rather small for a country of 90 to 94 million Filipinos.